Okay, today I'm going to talk about a rendering system that is, in my opinion, completely flawed. And the only way to show this is by going to Spain. Granddad. Okay, so we're in a little place called Amaya de Mar. This is in Spain, and it's full of this one type of rendered building which I in particular don't like, and it's Monocouche or K-Rend, or in other opinions other brands, but basically it's a Monocouche render. And the idea behind this is that it's applied and then the finish is a scratched finish. So when you the way you finish it up, it's not a sponge or it's not floated. You literally scratch the surface up and it leaves this pitted, textured finish. And it does look great, don't get me wrong, as a product it does look very good, and you can get different colours and different styles. And in Spain, in this particular area, they absolutely love it. It's everywhere. So when we were looking around, I was obsessed with looking at the different buildings and different styles and the different ways they've done it. So don't get me wrong, they've done a great job. So let's talk about the product first off. So this was mainly used in Europe, and Monocouche by definition means one coat or one layer. So that's the idea by definition what it means. So you can hand apply it, you can spray it, and like I said, it's got full of different colours, and it's reasonably breathable, which makes it again quite, attractive if you've got some lime based buildings. Never as good as lime render, but still I think people are using it for the breathable aspects. So again, not to be ever compared to traditional lime render, by the way. I'm not saying that, you traditionalists out there. But yeah, people do use it for its attractive nature and the fact it's so easy to apply. By the way, using it is a dream. It's, in my opinion, a very easy product to use. You just hand apply it, wait for it to dry, and then you scratch it back, and that is the finish. On paper it sounds really, really attractive, and then walking around this Spanish area, it's just full of buildings, and the newly applied ones look great. But here's where the big issue is. With over time and especially rain and water, what you'll get is this mould looking effect. And what you'll see around windowsills, you'll see drip marks, around the gutters, around anywhere where you've got water exposed, you'll see drainage and a bit of water looping down. Now that is where the problem starts, and this is where the problem by nature as a product is what makes it quite bad. So when you scratch it, it leaves lots of little pits and lots of little holes in the render, right? And this is where the issue lies, because if you get any water when it rains, the water can sit inside these little pockets, and then what happens is it collects algae, and then algae grows in there, and then what you get is this mould looking effect on the render. Now again, it is supposed to be waterproof, it is waterproof product, but by nature it's not all that good. Because you've got these pockets, you start getting mould throughout the whole area, and it can get spread all over the render if you're not careful. I've seen certain buildings even in Spain. Now let's go back to Spain. The reason they probably use it in the Spanish country like this is because you don't get that much rain, because it is quite a dry country. So it's quite an attractive product to use. In terms of flexibility, it's really good, it's quite strong as a product, and it's waterproof. So on paper, again, it sounds good. But if you plonk this in the middle of a wet country like England, then you're going to have issues. I mean, let me show you. We even had issues in Spain, right? This is a dry country. We even had issues. I was walking around looking at some of the buildings, and you can tell some of the ones that were brand new, newly applied, compared to the ones that you've had up for a few years. And this, in my opinion, is where the product is completely flawed, and it's within its design. If you've got anything which got pockets and it contains water and it can hold water on the surface, then you are providing a big problem, and it's a breeding ground for algae to grow. Now, what happens when your whole rendered surface does start to develop this algae? Then you can hose it down, but really the only option is to repaint it again. And you can only use Weber's paint. Sorry if it's Weber you're looking at. You can only use the company's paint. You can't just paint it with normal emulsion. It won't work. So all of a sudden you've got a product that's prone for moulding, and you've got to pay 4 times the price for their paint. Now, in my opinion, it's just a bit flawed. I mean, it looks great when it's newly done, but when you start looking at the end effects of some of these renders and what the state they can get into, it really puts me off using it. And again, it's a lovely product to use. It's very easy, it's fast, and it's, you know, it's quite nice to use. I must admit, it's nice to apply. But if anyone asks me what renders I recommend and don't recommend, I always say Monocouche for this reason alone. Because if you've done a newly rendered building and it starts to mould all over, you start to get side effects, or you start to get some of these effects shining through, then the customer's going to turn around to you and say, look, what's going on here? And I can only say, it's a product. They might not believe you. So, looking through Spain, it was very interesting to see how much of the buildings had adopted this style and adopted this type of render to use. And I thought it was a brilliant case study to have a look around and just examine and study the buildings around the area and see the differences between an old one, a new one, and the middle ground. And as you can see through these clips and through these videos, it's just clear that you can see the stages in which and the age of these buildings going on. Where if you just had traditional sand cement, for example, yeah, it's old school, it's prone to cracking, and you know, it's not got flexibility. You might get some mould from fixing points, say from brackets, gutters or aerials, but you'll never get mould in the sense that it sits in the pockets, because sand cement or any smooth coat systems have a smooth finish, so the rain will hit the front and it'll just slide down. So that way the rain can't sit in the pockets, can't absorb the moisture, and can't attract the algae. So this is what makes, my opinion, Monocouche renders a flawed system. It's the way it's finished, it's the way it's scratched, it's the way you give it that texture. Where a smooth face render won't do that, because it's got nowhere to sit. The rain can just fall down and that is it. The rain's gone, issue done. So that is my big flaw in Monocouche render, and that is a big reason that I really don't like it. I don't recommend it. If people ask me what products to stay away from, actually, I say Monocouche. 9 times out of 10, I actually tell everyone to avoid it. I know it sounds bad. I'm not saying I'm dissing anyone who uses it, by the way. I'm not, because you've got your reasons to use it. It's a lovely product to use, but I personally don't like the way it ages. And it just looks horrible, you know what I mean? I don't want to recommend something that does that over time. I don't want to recommend that to my customers, people who pay me, you know? So that is the main reasons I avoid Monocouche render. I like to stick to sand cement, but even now moving from sand cement, which I'm going to go into future videos, I'm looking for something else. But if you want to see the 7 steps and the 7 secrets you have to follow to be successful with sand cement render, which is the render I recommend anyone should use, then click this video here. If you need to follow these tips to make sure you get good results in any rendering, check out this video because it's decent. If you like this video, hit the like button and please subscribe here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.